Chris, Tom, like I said, it's such a pleasure to meet you both. My name's Nick from NovaStream in Australia. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. I'm excited. I've been lucky enough to speak to stunt performers and coordinators before, and it's some of the most exciting chats I get to do. So thank you so much for taking the time to both of you.
What part of Aussie in?
Brisbane, Queensland. So yeah, near the Gold Coast, which I think is probably a bit of a popular filming hub at the moment for a lot of these productions. So, and it's a beautiful sunny day today. So we're living up to our name of the Sunshine State, guys, which is
Yeah, I spent
pretty
about three
exciting.
months down there many, many years ago.
In Brisbane, in Queensland.
Yeah, yeah. I had a girlfriend in Rockhampton.
Oh yeah,
That's
north
where
and
she was
west. Yeah.
from. Yeah, so we went. Well, it was God, 20 years ago. When I went back with her and visited, and God, Gold Coast is gorgeous.
Oh, it's unreal. It's one
Yeah.
of the most beautiful parts of the world by far, by far. Well, guys, I'll jump into this. I've been lucky enough to watch all the Terminalist Dark Wolf, and of course, I've seen stuff that you guys have done before and worked on before. And I guess one thing that I think about when it comes to action in film and television is that probably over the last 2 decades, there's been this real focus on realism, whether it's military realism or realism in action and things like that. I'm curious to know how in both of your careers you've seen this evolution in stunts and coordination and action from the heightened insanity of what we loved in that 70s and 80s and 90s to this more realistic approach. How have you both seen that evolution over time?
Oh, when I first came in the business, Hong Kong style was really popular years back. So that was actually the first thing I trained in. So I fought Hong Kong style, fought Jackie Chan a couple times. So it was all the fantastical, crazy stuff. And as a coordinator, I love this style so much more. I
Mm,
think all that has its place. The superhero stuff, the fantastical wire fighting, the wire fu. I love it.
mm,
But this is my most enjoyable kind of thing to get involved in, both as a coordinator and performer, is just making everything realistic and gritty and nasty. And I love that it's kind of come back to this again with these military dramas and thrillers.
mm. For
Yeah, I
yourself,
love
Chris?
all styles of action. I think that the Hong Kong style, we got the John Wick, we got the Marvel style. They all have these particular flavors, and they work for their particular shows, their stories, and that's what I was most interested with Dark Wolf,
Mm.
in creating action that fit the story and the characters. So it really just depends on what show you're watching. You know what fits the world they're trying to build.
Mm. You mentioned something interesting there, Chris, about sort of making the characters sort of work within the action. And I think something, especially something like Dark Wolf and then even the first season of Terminal List, is that the drama fuels a lot of the action. The character work actually fuels a lot of the investment into the tension. And I'm curious to know what those sort of collaboration is like for you both with the writers of the show, with the actors, and sort of actually finding the drama in the action. Of Chris, you mentioned as if you happen to go first, yeah.
Yeah, that is a really great question, and it starts, with the writers in the writers' room. We have 25 veterans that work on the show, both in front of and behind the camera. Many of them are writing for our show, and we're really trying to focus on making this show for a specific audience, veterans. We want to make sure that it passes the sniff test for them. So it starts there, and then as we kind of build out these action sequences, we're very much collaborating with our veterans and asking, like, how does this feel for you? Is this realistic? Is this true to form? Is this what your experience was like? And our actors would come in, Taylor and Rona and Shiraz and Dari, all these guys. They were very much, they bought into that. They
Mm.
had so many questions, and they also brought their own characters and their own influences into that. And so folding that all into the mix, we really tried to create something that would pass the sniff test for our veterans and serve the show, serve these characters. And I think having the buy-in from everybody and the support of our higher ups
Mm.
really made that easy.
That's unreal.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm sure you know what previs is or stunt
Yes.
viz, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it. So that's a huge part of the process.
Mm.
So we'd talk to the writers, we'd go off, we'd previs something, we'd come back, show it to the writers, director, get more input, and it was a very ongoing, extremely collaborative process.
Mm.
Chris and I would just sit in Video Village with the writers, the showrunner, the director, and literally, if we weren't actively doing something at the time, we're talking about the stuff that's coming up and planning for it, and really doing deep dives. Like they would. I remember Max Adams, one of our writers, Chris and I sat with him for God almost 2 hours, literally helping him write one of the scenes. Like he was
Yeah, wow.
asking for our advice this here, and then he's given his advice for the military aspect. So it was a lot of really, really just amazing back and forth with the
Yeah.
best people I've ever worked for.
And that's not common. A lot of the shows, the
Yeah, right.
script, it's the script. You follow the
Yep.
script, it's the Bible.
Mm.
Whereas our script was a living script. We'd get to a location and be like, hey, this bit doesn't really work here, or it doesn't really work with what we've built out earlier. And we would be able to adapt with these guys on the fly. Well, not on the fly, but as we're building out these sequences.
Yeah.
And how much then when the actors do present when they talk to you and you collaborate with the writers and then you bringing the actors on board and they're bringing the elements of their character to it, how much does their sort of intricacy into how they know the characters sort of inform the physical decisions they make about their characters? I'm assuming you talk about just character physicality with them as well. So
Oh yeah.
and then how much does that sort of influence what we see them doing on screen when it does come to these stunt scenes?
Well, it's the same thing like with the writers. We want to involve them because they are
Mm,
the character.
mm,
And they're also very involved with their stunt doubles. They talk about everything with them. So, like, take Taylor, for instance. Chris and I were just talking about this.
mm.
One of our scenes, we don't want to do choreo just to do choreo.
Sure.
And there was, yeah, so the train sequence
Hmm.
where he goes after the lone wolf guy.
Mm.
Originally, that was a big fight on the train. And
Interesting.
Chris, yeah, and Chris and I were just racking our brains because it wasn't making sense.
Yeah.
Everything we tried, I mean, the choreo would look cool, we'd have cool moves and all this stuff, but it didn't feel right.
Mm.
And we were sitting there having a conversation with Taylor Kitsch, the showrunner, the writers, and Taylor was like, I mean, I just fucking shoot him. And we all just kind
Like,
of looked at each other and we're like, Indiana Jones, the dude, let's do it.
you
And it makes sense. So Chris
Mm.
and I absolutely were not afraid to. This wasn't a showcase for us. It's a showcase for the characters in the military. So
Mm.
we weren't gonna just try and ramrod some choreo in there. We're like, hell yeah, that's gonna be awesome. And I think it turned out great. It's a fantastic scene.
It's such a good scene. And it's so interesting to know, having seen it now,
Mhm.
where if the fight would have sort of fit into that, because I think it works so much for Taylor's character in that regard too. So I think that collaboration is awesome. Another scene that I truly loved was the tunnel extraction shootout in episode 4. I think that's such a badass scene. It's really cool. And I know we've talked about a lot about collaboration. There's one more department I'd love to talk about collaboration with, and that's the director of photography and the cinematography, because there's if I'm not mistaken, I think at the back half there's like an extended one take in that scene, and I'm a sucker for a good one take. But I'm curious to know, when it comes to setting up and choreographing those scenes, how early, and even in maybe in the previous, how early are you talking to cinematographers about this is what we want for the show and this is how we're going to put the action in that moment?
That's a really great question. And we started as early as we possibly could
Mm,
because we had to include every department,
yeah.
right? We needed picture cars, we needed locations, we needed the writers, we needed Kenny, who's our first unit camera guy, to see it. We needed David Stockton, to be able to see it and get eyes on it. So
That's our
we
brilliant
tried to have,
DP.
yeah, we
Mm,
tried to have as many conversations as early as possible as we could, so that by the time we got to building it out, a lot of those kinks had already been worked out. And
mm,
we had buy-in from every other department and all their support. And so it only really happens with good communication and a good team.
mm.
And they did something that's rarely done, especially in TV. They brought out we everyone the showrunner and the writers came out to the rehearsal. The director,
Wow.
the DP, and Kenny, our A camera op who was on Steadicam, they came out and rehearsed the sequence with us.
Wow.
Typically when we're going to do a previs, we have our own camera guy, we're doing all this stuff, but it's such an intricate doing a oneer like that.
Mm,
You need the actual guy there. So they rearranged the shooting schedule, went down for like half a day. They all came out. So we had everyone that's going to be involved rehearsing the actual sequence
Wow.
with our director Liz having eyes on the whole thing.
Mm.
So otherwise you're going to have a mess with something like that. So getting all those key people that you mentioned involved was amazing.
Would that scene be up there for both of you in one of the more intricate? I know you've both done some insane shit on screen before and had some really crazy scenes, but would that be up there in levels of just planning and execution as one of the more intricate ones you've both done?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
weeks of planning
Wow.
and the location. Oh my God,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
at this beautiful basilica in Esztergom, Hungary, and it was honestly one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. Just this gorgeous church up on the mountain, but the and this tunnel with a lot of history in it. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely highlight.
Yeah.
That's
And we'd take the our technical advisor, we'd go out there and we'd build the tactics out with them, right? And we'd
mm,
start with our main characters and the convoy and do the hit. And we built in the bad guys and how would they advance. And we built it in such a way that you could do the whole thing in a continuous one. And that's how we did most of our action sequences. Just not
mm.
knowing how the directors wanted to cover it at first, just top to bottom, left to right, everybody knows their spots and tried to make it easy to kind of come in and film.
That's unreal. And I guess being surrounded by so much of the technical aspect of filmmaking in your part of the industry as well, and we've seen obviously people like Chad Stahelski, David Leitch, Sam Hargraves all go on to then direct their own films and stuff. Is that something that interests you both? Like, do you feel like you have sort of a filmmaker's mind, and would love to put that on screen one day?
I think you have to if you're going to do stuff like this. Chris and I both have aspirations to direct. I was blessed to second you to direct on the show.
Yes, of course. Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so sitting in the chair, I love it. I've gotten to direct a couple times on main unit, like
Nice.
covering for people.
Mm,
But that is definitely where I want to go,
mm.
and I know Chris does too. And being involved in
I
a project like this, where we have so much at our disposal to really not just train the stunt side of our brain, but the entire filmmaking part of our brain was
Mm.
just a really huge blessing.
Yeah, and to Tom's point, I really do think that you need to engage your filmmaker brain to be good at stunts at any level, because I think it's character work, it's
Mm.
story. If you're just going for what's cool in the moment, that oftentimes isn't what serves the story best. I'm actually filming my first feature here soon. Just got word that funding's coming through, so looking forward to that.
That's unreal. Congrats, man. That's
Yeah,
sick.
thank you.
I love it, and it excites me as well because, like you said, when all those other aspects outside the action, character and the drama, that's what makes action films we remember as
Mhm.
audiences. I'm like any other guy. I can sit there for 90 minutes and watch senseless violence and be like, that was sick. I'm not going to remember it a day from now, right? But the movies that have stuck with me are the ones where I've cared about the characters and the drama, and I think the films that have come out of people in the stunt community have been some of my favorites as well. So, it's been an interesting year to talk about stunts and recognition of some forms because obviously with the Oscars now announcing that they are going to be recognizing your industry with a category is huge news. And I'm curious to know how much recognition sort of does mean to you. I know you've spoken both about working on a show like this. It's important for the military community, and that is a big force of it. But is there an aspect of the recognition on a level as much as the Oscars that does sort of fuel the desire to continue evolving how you do stunts and the bigger and the bolder they get?
Yeah, if you'd have asked me years ago, I'd have been like, I don't care about award shows, screw that.
Mm,
I got heavily involved with the Television Academy. I was a governor at the Academy for a while,
mm,
got nominated twice, and the first time I got nominated, I I remember when I submitted it was for Punisher. I submitted the show.
mm,
I didn't think I was going to care, or whatever. But it's exciting. It's
mm,
exciting having that recognition, having your peers and other people in the industry recognize it and kind of bring you into the fold. I always said with the Television Academy that it was nice that they brought us in and they loved us
mm.
and that we were actually part of their family because you kind of feel like the bastard child sometimes
Mm.
off to the side that no one cares about. And the Oscars is a good example. I mean, it's 100 years, and,
Yeah, yeah, it'll
and
be.
they're finally going to bring stunts in. Better late than never. But it
Mm.
also it kind of became a little contentious because we're just like, okay, well, we've got these other ones, and it finally happened, and now people are starting to get excited about it, and I think it is a good thing. The argument was always, well, people are going to do bigger and badder stuff, and someone's going to get hurt. That's not what we do.
No.
Chris and I are there to make sure it looks awesome and that everyone goes home safe.
Mm.
So we're going to make things bigger and better. It's going to be amazing, and we're still going to keep everyone safe. And then people are going to go get recognized and have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that you mentioned the stunt guys turned directors.
Mm.
And I think each time somebody does that and is a success, it just kind of legitimizes our field and what we do a little bit more and allows us
Mhm.
to be able to do a little bit more, to be able
Mm.
to be in the rooms and to have a say creatively and to be able to ply our trade in a way that enhances the story and makes things hopefully better.
Mm.
Yeah.
I spoke a few months ago to Corey DeMeyers, who obviously he just won the Emmy as well for Righteous Gemstones, and he was also and
Yep.
we were talking about how it's awesome the stunt recognition because this is like the perfect blend of art and science. There is so much,
Mhm.
and it's like it's the Academy of Arts and Sciences, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. So, um, I really appreciate you both taking the time to chat. I always have to ask as stunt guys this question because I'm just an obsessive over these things, and I've had some great answers before, so I'm excited to hear what you both have to say about this. But I'm always asking what the gnarliest stunt you've ever performed, and what's your favorite stunt that you've ever performed? And if they're the same one, even better. But sometimes they are. Sometimes the gnarliest doesn't always turn into the favorite from the stories I've
Yeah.
heard.
God, performing wise, I usually say the same too.
Mm.
I Book of Eli. I played a
Wow.
character in that. Had a one-on-one fight. I was the dude with the chainsaw under the bridge fighting Denzel Washington.
That scene is sick. I love Book of
That
Eli, man. That
was
movie's so good.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But I think some of the most fun I've ever had performing on film was on the last Jason Bourne.
Mm.
So the Las Vegas strip chase.
Yeah.
I was one of the main drivers. So we had the Las Vegas strip for about a month, doing like 100 miles an hour down the strip with 100 other stunt cars we're weaving through and destroying cars, destroying the strip, and just it's honestly some of my favorite memories of performing.
Wow. That's incredible.
I'm currently working on Terminal List season 2. We got some really good stuff in it.
Mm.
I'm doubling Chris Pratt. There's some stuff I'm really proud about. Can't really talk about it, but those are some of the gnarliest things I've done.
Jeez,
But
wow.
we
And
also have
if
such a
that's come,
great.
dude, if that's coming after season one and Dark Wolf, and if there's more gnarly shit to come, that's wild.
I'm really excited for people to see it, and we dial these things in so much
Mm.
that we try to remove as much of the danger as possible, but it's always there.
Mm.
In terms of my favorite stunts, I think was the question, right? The
Mm.
second part. Um, I don't know. I think there's just this classic stuntman thing of diving away from a giant explosion, and I got to do that on a glacier in Iceland, and it just the way they shot it too. I was just that is the pinnacle of being a stuntman, just diving away from an explosion, and it was great.
What movie was that for?
That was for the Tomorrow War.
Oh, dude, I got to talk to Chris McKay a few years ago when he did Renfield, and I was like, dude, Tomorrow War was one of the best action films of like 2021. That movie was
It's
unreal. Yeah.
it's a gem, and he's such a good dude to work with. I mean, love that guy.
Oh man, and a lot of the guys you both collaborate with are unreal. And like I said, I some of the most exciting chats I get to have with stunt guys because it's such an integral part of everyone walks away from, especially action films or shows like The Terminal List. And like I said, we care about the characters, but the talking points are how cool was the tunnel scene and how cool was the train shoot. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for not just your time, but just making cool shit to talk about. As a fan, as an audience member, it excites the hell out of me. So I appreciate you both taking the time, and I hope we get to talk again for whatever you guys have coming up in the future.
Thank you so much, Nick. This is awesome.
Appreciate you
Thank you,
both.
Nick.
Thanks, guys.